You are listening to the Free Spirit Astrology Podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Free Spirit Astrology Podcast. I'm your host, Brandy Williams. Oh boy, it is retrograde season. All the things are going crazy. So much energy. Flights are being canceled. Tech is just not working. Pack your patience. It's retrograde season. Okay, so let's do a little rifting here while we journey through the week ahead. There is pretty much three transits to talk about. First off, Mercury goes retrograde today. It's already retrograde by the time you're hearing this podcast. I'm recording on Sunday. It's stationed retrograde at about 2:01 p.m. Central Time. It's going back from Sagittarius to 20 degrees of Scorpio until November 30th. First off, Mercury is the archetype of the mind. It's the energy that represents communication, mental faculties. It's how we comprehend things. It's in the sign of Sagittarius. So this is comprehension overall on a broader perspective. It is our comprehension of beliefs and ideas. It is our worldview, our education, religion, politics, philosophy, all the stuff. Mercury is also about siblings and friends. This can be our peers, our colleagues. Sometimes it's the people who we are around very often, like coworkers, people that we are in class with, or connected to an online community, all the things. Mercury is also transactions and transportation, and Sagittarius has to do with long distance travel. So we are already seeing flights being canceled, flights being delayed. We have a transit this week that's probably going to intensify that, lines outside the airport, and it's going to get worse. Now, if you asked me, which you didn't, but let's pretend like you did, and you wanted me to give you my astrological opinion, I would advise people to cancel trips for the holidays this year because there are going to be more strikes from the TSA if the government doesn't open up. Pilots are going to stop showing up for work because they're not getting paid. And they're already starting to prioritize certain flights. They're already prioritizing international flights in a lot of areas, and they are canceling and delaying several flights right now. If you are going to try to pursue a flight still, pack your patience and be prepared for things to change and things to fall through because it's Mercury retrograde. Also, if you don't have to go anywhere, you want to go for fun, but like if you don't have a family member that is critical in their quality of life right now, or it's like not an emergency, maybe we could clear the airways for some of those people who really need to take those flights and they can't because things are getting delayed. So Mercury's retrograde. It's going to have us doing all the re's in our personal lives, reviewing, revising, recognizing a lot of stories that we have about the world, our outlook and perspective on things, how we see the bigger picture, how we view things on a larger scale. We are being encouraged to go inward as we navigate our own self evolution. And that's going to go back into Scorpio, where we are going to start making connections to stories of betrayal or violations, abandonment, rejection that was done to us, and the residue from these violations that have possibly tethered themselves to our mindsets and the way we are in relationship and our emotional landscape. And a lot of this residue has contributed to the beliefs that we have right now and the ways that we react and respond to other people and circumstances. Now, Wednesday, November 11th, Jupiter is going to also station retrograde in the sign of Cancer. So, for the bigger picture, we have Uranus and Taurus station retrograde last week, messing with our money, messing with our material stability, home base, all the things that incorporate our foundational needs are being shaken up with Uranus going back into Taurus. And to get us out of our comfort zones and make certain moves, we have Saturn and Neptune retrograded back in Pisces. And that is asking us to see the light, to stop romanticizing a situation, to come to terms and be real about the things that we're doing and the people that we're attached to. Stop lying to ourselves, blaming other people, having these victim stories and these martyr stories about how we're so amazing, how that person is so bad and they're doing this wrong, and take responsibility and accountability for a lot of things that are going the ways that they are going in our lives, and for some of the perceived delusions that we could have. And that's not an insult, it's that we're not seeing things as they actually are. We're seeing things in a skewed way. And Saturn and Neptune is asking us to be honest with ourselves. And this is where we are going back to end something, release something, to gain spiritual wisdom so that when it goes back into Aries, we'll be able to start this new thing, this new spiritual journey with a clean slate and without the energy vampires. Okay. So now Jupiter is retrograde, and this is the ghost of emotional past. This is taking us back to our past experiences and our emotional foundation. These are the emotional interactions that were modeled and passed down from our families, roots, generations. So, in lieu of looking at our beliefs and mindsets, we are also reviewing the origin stories, our relationships with our parents, siblings, extended family. And we're not looking at these stories to blame them, because sometimes the brain wants to get caught up in that victim loop and that victim story about what such and such did to us. And while that is painful and it shouldn't have happened to you, this is not the time for that. This is a time to look back at the other people that were in our lives and how they contributed to how we feel about ourselves. So, this is an internal survey of how it all began, how we were nurtured, the modeling of how we seen other people nurture themselves that play into how we nurture ourselves today, how we were conditioned to care for ourselves or to self abandon, to self nurture, or to deny ourselves nurture and priority so that we could care for other people. This is also playing into our emotional attachment styles and the way that our needs were met in childhood, the things that were done and said to us, how people responded to us when we had an emotional need. Cancer is the part of life where we are seeking nurture, we're seeking comfort, we're seeking emotional safety and emotional intelligence. Cancer is where we had our first interaction with our emotions and, how people reacted to our emotions when we were younger. So with Cancer, there's a very big concern with safety, with privacy, with feeling like we have a safe space and people who feel safe to talk to. But there's also there are also these silent expectations with Cancer and assumptions, and how we stay quiet from the fear of rejection or the fear that we will be emotionally lashed out at or admonished for the things that we say we need and we want. We're going to also be looking at our personal relationships, to give and take, and how well we accept support. Do we have a healthy relationship with receiving? Or do we find ourselves trying to immediately reciprocate people who give to us so that we may level the playing field, so that we don't owe anyone anything and they don't have anything to hang over our heads? We're going to be looking at those types of stories. We're also going to be looking at feelings of entitlement. What do we think other people owe us? What do we expect from other people because we would do it for them? Or what are we doing for other people out of obligation because we know, quote unquote, that they would do it for us? Doing things for people, engaging what they would do for you, whether, they would come through for you or what you owe them, whatever the case is transactional and is disingenuine. So for Thanksgiving, we're going to have Jupiter, Uranus, Mercury, Saturn, Neptune, all retrograde. It's giving it's giving holidays at home to me. It's giving let me stay at home at my house and prioritize my own capacity. And I said this last year. If you was a listener last year, I said, let me tell you something. You don't owe nobody nothing. I don't give a damn what they done for you. You don't owe them nothing. You don't owe them your peace of mind. You don't owe them your joy. Okay? You don't owe nobody that. These issues that could be happening with family that you don't even have the capacity to deal with because you're trying to deal with your own in-house stuff, you don't owe nobody nothing. Okay. And if this is a family situation that is way out of town, you already got your pass, but you don't need no goddamn pass, because guess what? You get to prioritize yourself. That's what these retrograde planets are asking us. How well can we prioritize ourselves without feeling guilty and without feeling obligated that we have to wear ourselves thin for other people? So we're going inside to look at the stories that we tell ourselves and the beliefs that we have around prioritizing our own self peace and our capacity. And as an adult, you are not going to get in trouble. You are afraid of the conflict and the ramifications of people who have spent their lifetimes placing their needs and desires over yours. And you follow suit because you feel like you owe them. One day they might not be here and it's going to be all your fault that you didn't show up with the sweet potato pie. And that's why Jupiter is here in retrograde around this time by design, coming to show us how we have allowed people to place our needs on the back burner and how we have also conspired with them to place our needs on the back burner. So they caring about them and you caring about them, and nobody's cared about you. And nobody cares about your capacity. Nobody even asked you. When the last time they asked you, how was your heart space? How are you doing? How are you managing stress right now? Ain't nobody asked you that shit, strong friend. You want to know why? Because they depending on you to carry they ass. They want you to be the village for them, and you ain't got no village. Where we do that at? Okay. Look at how you feel so tied up in knots to say no to people who don't mind saying no to you. And it's not your fault. It's not for you to have shame and blame on yourself. It's just for you to really sit with something and untangle the knots, not for you to be mad, which you're going to be probably mad anyway. Mercury's in retrograde. It's going to be some friction. Okay. Because let me tell you something. Let's just get into the other transit and then I'll riff on that. So, also Wednesday, we have Mercury conjunct Mars in the sign of Sagittarius. Retrograde Mercury, by the way, conjunct Mars. So we had this transit a few weeks back in October. It was in Scorpio. So, Mars was really strong. Mercury was not in its detriment, but now we got a detrimented Mercury, which means that Mercury don't communicate as well as maybe it could, right? Mercury in Sagittarius will cuss you out and not really think the things through. They'll only hear half the story and go off. So perhaps you told somebody after you listen to this podcast, you know what, you're right. I ain't going to Thanksgiving this year. I'm gonna be at home. And they ain't like that. And then it's an altercation. That's a Mercury and Mars situation. So Mercury and Mars in Sagittarius is blunt speech, arrogance, dogmatic, preachy, judgmental thinking, freaking mom shaming type. This could be conflicts and just fighting words. Mercury and Mars. Mars is fighting. Mercury is worse, literally fighting words. People who say things and before you know it, it's a situation. Now, if you are the one with the fire on the tongue about to go off on somebody, walk it out. Just walk it out. Even if they coming at you and you ain't going to Thanksgiving, walk it out before you talk it out. Things tend to flow smoother when you walk on something when Mercury is in Sagittarius. Get that oxygen to the brain before you say something that you regret. I don't know about y'all. I really don't like saying things that I'm gonna regret. That's why I kind of think about things before I say it. But even the best thinker before sayers are going to possibly have a foot in the mouth moment. It's because it's the energy. It's Mercury retrograde. We have these unconscious repressed emotions coming up with the Scorpio stuff. Shit might get said. It might fuck around and get said, but if you can help it because you have the astrology, you're expecting things to get said. Um, but also we are looking at the stories that we tell ourselves and what we believe because this is a season right on time for winter where we're going to be looking at our own landscapes and how we feel about putting ourselves first because what is coming in the next year and after that is going to be radical self transformation. These relationships that make you feel like you're incarcerated, that feel like they're stifling, controlling, and confining, they're not going to be here for the long run, even in family, because it's getting harder and harder for us to wear these masks to pretend that we're okay and to be in relationships that just feel lopsided and unreciprocal. A lot of us are really tired of putting in effort for people who just want to take more and more. We want reciprocation. We want to be able to be ourselves too. We want to say, hey, I don't have the capacity to talk, and people don't feel entitled to have access to you just because you have a phone. Okay. That shit ain't gonna sustain in the long run. Now, I don't want to get I don't want to get it twisted about Mercury and Mars and Sagittarius. This is a very optimistic, enthusiastic, lots of stories, lots of talking. You see how much I'm talking. Tall tales, fun, adventurous stories, good times type of energy too. We're gonna have a lot of energy. We're gonna be eager to learn. Some of us are really gonna be excited to connect with elders and hear those wise stories and to learn things. And if it feels good, is what we want to think about. Does it feel good to your soul to make a decision? You deserve to do something in life that feels good. So Mercury is also going to retrograde and have us thinking about some of these avenues that we're taking in life, some of the, our pursuits in education and how we are existing in our roles to the public, how we are existing in caretaking roles, how we are showing ourselves to the world. What are we doing for business? Your material gains are going to be in flux with Uranus and Taurus. The structures of finances and all the things are going to be in flux with the government. I mean, there's just going to be a lot of things unfolding when Uranus is in Taurus. And so I believe, when we see Mercury retrograde interact with other planets, we're going to really ponder our whys. Why do you want to do this thing? What about joy? What about your inner child healing? What about things that fill you up and make you feel happy? Because it's not going to be enough just to do this for the money. And if you are abandoning the thing you're passionate about to pursue something that you think is going to give you more financial security, I mean, I'm not telling you not to do it. Please, by all means, secure your money. It's just there's probably going to be some reviews, redos, and backtracks about some things. A few more things about Mercury retrograde. We want to be very careful about signing contracts, making huge purchases, making long-term decisions and agreements when Mercury is retrograde, because oftentimes we're going to miss something. Something's not going to be right with the contract. And by all means, you have to live your life. So I'm not saying not to do those things, but you want to really look at something and comb it more than you would usually do it during a retrograde, because you just want to make sure you're signing what you say and what you are expecting to sign. We also want to pack our patience regarding tech. So this can be car stuff. Like I said, transportation, we already know with flights. This could be internet, tech, just phone stuff falling through. It is intentionally slowing us down so that we can review and look at something, because Mercury energy is so fast. So, it often gets a bad rep for making everything go wrong. But, I do enjoy a Mercury retrograde because I appreciate the slowdown that happens for me to evaluate and think about certain things, think about my interactions. And this is a great time for you to also think about your interactions and your mindsets and what's contributing to you doing the things that you do, the agreements that you make, and the situations that you continue to stay in. So, that is all of the transits I have for this week. How can you prioritize you and be in your hermit mode this week to extract some internal information? Um, I love all of y'all. I hope that this episode has given you some insight, and hopefully you bypass several obstacle courses of miscommunication that could happen. So until next time, take care, everyone. Bye. You are listening to the Free Spirit Astrology Podcast.